The morning sun barely broke through the fog when I found the note pinned to my front door. It wasn't just any note. It was a wedding invitation, elegant with gold-embossed letters, announcing Emily Carter and Daniel Hayes' wedding in my backyard. My heart sank. My name's Sarah Bennett, a 35-year-old single mom who'd moved back to Oak Ridge to raise my daughter, Lily, in my late father's colonial home. That house was all I had left of him, a place filled with memories of his laughter and his stubborn pride in keeping it free from the clutches of the Oak Ridge Heights HOA. He'd fought them for years, and now, 6 months after his death, they targeted me. The invitation listed my address, 231 Maple Drive, as the venue for a stranger's wedding in 2 weeks. I stood frozen, coffee mug trembling in my hand, as Lily's voice called from inside, "Mom, you okay?" Her innocent question snapped me back, but my chest tightened with rage. This wasn't a mistake, it was a violation. I ripped the invitation off the door, its crisp paper crumpling in my fist. The names Emily and Daniel meant nothing to me, but the HOA's logo at the bottom, Oak Ridge Heights Heritage Committee, sent a chill down my spine. My dad had warned me about their president, Karen Walsh, a woman who ruled the neighborhood like a queen, enforcing rules on everyone, even those outside her jurisdiction. My property wasn't part of their gated community, but they'd always coveted its sprawling 3 acres, with its ancient oak trees and rose garden Dad had tended with care. I stormed inside, grabbed my phone, and dialed the number on the invitation. A cheerful voice answered. "Carter Hayes, wedding, Emily speaking." Her tone was so bright it grated against my anger. "Hi, Emily," I said, forcing calm. "This is Sarah Bennett. You've listed my house as your wedding venue. I don't know you, and I didn't approve this." Silence hung on the line before Emily laughed, confused. "Oh, you must be the new owner. Karen from the HOA said the venue was secured. We paid $6,000 for it." My stomach twisted. Paid? To who? Not me. I explained, voice tight, that my home wasn't a venue, and no one had my permission. Emily's tone shifted, panic creeping in. "But the invitations are sent. We have 150 guests coming. Karen said the Bennett Gardens are a historic site." Historic site? My dad's house was no such thing. It was private, personal, ours. I hung up, my mind racing. Lily peeked around the corner, her brown eyes wide. "Mom, are strangers coming to our house?" I forced a smile, kneeling to hug her. "No, sweetie. I'll fix this." But inside I was furious. The HOA had crossed a line, and I wasn't my dad, who'd fought them with letters and stubbornness. I needed answers. I pulled up the Oak Ridge Heights website and found a page advertising Bennett Gardens as a premier wedding venue, complete with photos of my backyard, taken without my knowledge. The site listed Karen Walsh as the contact, with a $5,000 base fee. My blood boiled. They were selling my home like it was theirs, profiting off my family's legacy. I drove to the HOA office, a sleek building at the edge of their gated community. The receptionist, a young woman named Chloe, smiled nervously as I demanded to see Karen. "She's in a meeting," Chloe said, glancing at her computer. "It's about the Heritage program." I leaned forward, my voice low. "Tell her Sarah Bennett is here about her illegal use of my property. I'm not leaving." Chloe scurried off, and 10 minutes later, I was led to a conference room. Karen Walsh sat at the head of a table, her red blazer crisp, her blonde hair perfectly styled. 3 other board members stared as I entered, their faces a mix of curiosity and annoyance. "Ms. Bennett," Karen said, her smile cold. "What's the issue?" I held up the crumpled invitation. "You're selling my home as a wedding venue. You took photos, forged documents, and pocketed money without my consent. That's the issue." Karen's smile didn't waver, but her eyes narrowed. "There's a misunderstanding. Your father signed an agreement for the Heritage program before he passed." She slid a document across the table. It had my dad's name, Robert Bennett, scrawled in a shaky signature dated 3 months before his death, when he was bedridden with cancer, barely able to speak, let alone sign anything. I stared at the paper, my heart pounding. "This is fake," I said, voice trembling. My dad was in hospice then. He hated the HOA. He'd never agreed to this. Karen leaned back, unfazed. The signature was witnessed by 2 board members. The Bennett Gardens are a community asset now. A man next to her, Tom Reynolds, nodded. It's for the town's benefit. The fees fund maintenance. I laughed bitter. Maintenance? I've seen none of that money. Where's it going? The room went quiet, their glances uneasy. Karen's voice sharpened. The funds are in a reserve. We planned to discuss improvements with you. I stood, clutching the forged document. Cancel the wedding. Take my property off your site. Refund Emily and Daniel. Or I'm going to my lawyer. Karen's smile turned icy. Be careful, Sarah. The HOA represents 400 homeowners. We have influence. It's better to cooperate. Her threat hung heavy as I left, my hands shaking. Back home, I sat on the porch, staring at the garden Dad loved. Lily ran outside, holding a drawing of our house. Is this where the wedding is? She asked. I hugged her tight, hiding my fear. I'd fight for this house, for Dad's memory, for us. But how? Let me know next, when you're ready for the second section. That night, I couldn't sleep. Like HOA drama? Subscribe and comment your thoughts. Now let's dive into the story. The forged document with Dad's signature haunted me. Its shaky lines a cruel mockery of his final days. I sat at the kitchen table, Lily's drawing of our house beside me, her crayon lines capturing the oak trees and rose garden so perfectly it broke my heart. This was our home, not some HOA's cash machine. By midnight, I was scrolling through old emails from Dad, hoping for clues. One caught my eye, sent a year, before he got sick. Sarah, he wrote, the HOA's sniffing around again. They want the land. Keep your eyes open. My chest tightened. He'd known they'd come for us. The next morning, I called Laura Mitchell, Dad's old friend and a lawyer in Oak Ridge. Her voice was warm but sharp when I explained the situation. Karen Walsh is trouble, she said. Her sister's married to the mayor, and they've got half the town council in their pocket. But a forged signature? That's a crime. Bring me everything. I met Laura at her small office downtown, a cozy place with stacks of legal books and a photo of her and Dad at a town fair, laughing. I handed over the crumpled invitation and a photo of the forged document. Laura's eyes narrowed as she studied it. This isn't even close to Robert's signature, she said. He had that bold, looping R. This is sloppy. Karen's getting careless. She promised to draft a cease and desist letter, but her face grew serious. Sarah, this won't be easy. Karen's built a little empire. She's been pushing this heritage program to control properties like yours. It's not just about money, it's about power. I nodded, my stomach churning. What's her endgame? Laura leaned back, sipping coffee. Your land's the last big plot outside their control. 3 acres, prime location. Developers would pay millions. The heritage program's a front to tie it up legally. Back home, I walked the garden. The roses Dad loved now overgrown but still blooming. Lily ran up, holding a daisy. For you, Mom, she said, her smile so much like Dad's it hurt. I hugged her, hiding my fear. Karen's threat about the HOA's influence echoed in my mind. I needed a plan, something bigger than a letter. That's when my neighbor, Jack Turner, stopped by. Jack, a retired contractor in his 60s, had worked with Dad for years. His weathered face creased with concern as I told him everything. Your dad fought those vultures, he said, shaking his head. Karen tried to fine him once for a tree branch crossing her precious property line. He told her to shove it. I laughed, picturing Dad's defiance, but my smile faded. Jack, they're selling my backyard for weddings. I need to stop this. Jack's eyes gleamed with mischief. You want to fight Karen? Hit her where it hurts, her reputation. She's all about control and looking perfect. Make a mess she can't hide. His words sparked an idea, wild and risky, but it felt right. I spent the afternoon making calls. By evening, I'd lined up a local landscaping crew willing to play along with a stunt. The plan was simple but bold. Stage a fake demolition project to scare off the wedding and expose Karen's scam. I rented a small excavator, some caution tape, and signs warning of major construction. Jack grinned when I told him. That's the spirit, he said. Your dad would have loved this. The next day, Emily called again, her voice shaky. Sarah, I got a letter from the HOA saying the venue's still on. Karen says you agreed to it. I gripped the phone, fury rising. She's lying, Emily. I never agreed. That document's fake, and I'm proving it. Emily sobbed. My wedding's in 10 days. My parents spent everything on this. What do I do? Guilt hit me hard. Emily wasn't the enemy. She was caught in Karen's web. I'm working on it, I promised. You'll have a wedding, just not here. After hanging up, I felt a pang for her, but my resolve hardened. Karen wasn't just stealing my land. She was hurting people like Emily to do it. I drove to the HOA office again, this time with a folder of Dad's old emails and property deeds. Proof our land was never under their control. Chloe, the receptionist, looked nervous as I walked in. Karen's not here, she said quickly. She's meeting vendors for the wedding. Vendors? On my property? I stormed out, my plan taking shape. Back home, I found a new notice taped to my door, an HOA citation for unapproved landscaping, claiming my garden violated their standards. The fine was $500. I laughed bitter. My garden wasn't theirs to judge. I called Laura, who was already digging into the HOA's finances. Sarah, I found something, she said. The Heritage Programs account has $40,000 in it, but none's gone to property owners. It's all administrative costs, Karen's pet projects. My jaw clenched. She was stealing, and my home was her latest target. That evening, Lily sat with me on the porch, her small hand in mine. Why are people so mean, Mom? She asked, staring at the garden. I sighed, pulling her close. Some people want what's not theirs, sweetheart. But we're fighting back, like Grandpa did. Her eyes lit up. Like a superhero. I smiled, despite the weight in my chest. Yeah, like that. But inside, I was scared. Karen's connections made her untouchable. Or so she thought. The excavator arrived the next morning, along with Jack and the crew. We set up signs, construction zone, demolition in progress. Caution tape fluttered in the wind. Neighbors peeked from windows, whispering. I felt a thrill. Karen's perfect world was about to crack. But then my phone buzzed. It was Karen. Sarah, stop this nonsense, she snapped. You're embarrassing yourself. The wedding's happening, and you'll comply. I smirked. Watch me, Karen. The line went dead, and I knew the real fight was just beginning. The sun was setting when the first neighbor knocked on my door. Mrs. Clara Evans, a sweet woman in her 70s who'd known Dad forever, stood there, her eyes wide. Sarah, is it true? You're tearing down the house. I smiled, letting her in on the plan. It's a stunt, Clara. The HOA's trying to steal my land for that wedding. I'm fighting back. Her face lit up, a spark of rebellion in her eyes. Good for you. Karen's had this town under her thumb too long. She promised to spread the word, and by morning, half the neighborhood was buzzing about the demolition. The excavator sat in my driveway, its yellow bulk a warning to Karen. Jack and his crew added more signs. Hazard, demolition scheduled. I felt a rush. This was my stand, my way of honoring Dad's fight. But then Emily showed up, her face pale, Daniel trailing behind her. Sarah, please, she begged, tears in her eyes. We didn't know it was your house. Karen said it was all legal. Now you're destroying it. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder, his jaw tight. We're out $6,000, and our wedding's ruined. Can you just talk to us? My heart twisted. They were victims, just like me. I took a breath. I'm not demolishing anything. It's a fake out to stop Karen. She forged my dad's signature to use my land. I'm sorry you got caught in this. Emily's eyes widened. Forged? She showed us a contract. I nodded. It's fake. My lawyer's on it. I'll help you find a new venue, I promise. Daniel looked skeptical but nodded. Okay, but if this falls apart, we're done. They left, and I felt the weight of their trust on me. That afternoon, Laura called with a bombshell. Sarah, I checked the HOA's Heritage Program records. Your dad's signature isn't the only one that looks off. 3 other properties have similar agreements, all signed when the owners were elderly or sick. My blood ran cold. Karen wasn't just targeting me. She was running a scam, preying on vulnerable people to grab land. Laura's voice grew urgent. There's more. The $40,000 in their account? Most went to a company owned by Karen's brother-in-law, a developer. It's a money laundering front. I gripped the phone, stunned. This was bigger than my house. Karen was a predator, and my stunt suddenly felt too small. I was still processing when Jack burst through the gate, out of breath. "Sarah, you gotta see this." He led me to the backyard, where a delivery truck was unloading chairs and tables, wedding supplies. A man in a polo shirt, clipboard in hand, looked confused. "This is 231 Maple, right? For the Carter Hayes wedding." I laughed bitter. "Yeah, but you're on private property. No weddings happening here." He frowned, checking his notes. "The HOA paid us. Said it's a historic venue." I pointed to the excavator. "Does this look like a venue? Tell Karen to cancel it." He left, shaken. But the sight of those chairs in my garden fueled my anger. Karen wasn't backing down. I called Laura again, my voice shaking. "They're setting up for the wedding, even with my stunt. What do I do?" She paused, then said, "Escalate. Make it public. Karen hates bad press. If you expose her at the right moment, she'll crack." I nodded, an idea forming. I'd amplify the demolition stunt, but I needed help. I called Jack, Clara, and a few neighbors who'd clashed with the HOA. We met at my kitchen table, Lily coloring nearby, oblivious to the war we were planning. Clara leaned in, her voice low. "Karen's hosting a town hall tomorrow to promote the Heritage Program. Everyone will be there, council members, neighbors, even the mayor." Jack grinned. "Perfect. We crash it." The plan grew bolder. We'd roll the excavator to the town hall, park it outside with signs accusing the HOA of fraud. I'd confront Karen with Laura's evidence, the forged signatures, the shady payments. But then Lily tugged my sleeve. "Mom, what if the mean lady takes our house?" Her small voice broke me. I hugged her tight. "She won't, sweetheart. I'm fighting for Grandpa's garden." But doubt crept in. Karen's connections were deep. What if she turned this on me? That night, I found an old letter from Dad in a drawer, tucked in a gardening book. "Sarah," it read, "if the HOA comes for you, don't just fight, outsmart them. They're greedy, not clever." His words lit a fire in me. The next morning, as we prepped the excavator, a new twist hit. Chloe, the HOA receptionist, showed up at my door nervous. "Sarah, I'm quitting today. I heard Karen talking to her brother-in-law. They're planning to file a lien on your property if you don't cooperate." "A lien?" My heart raced. They could force a sale if I didn't stop them. "Why are you telling me?" I asked. Chloe looked down. "My grandma lives in Oak Ridge. Karen tried to scam her, too. I'm done helping her." She handed me a USB drive. "This has emails from Karen to the developer. It's proof." I stared at her, stunned. A whistleblower in the HOA? This changed everything. I thanked her, my mind racing with how to use this. The town hall was hours away, and Karen was about to face a storm she didn't see coming. The town hall loomed ahead, a brick building packed with Oak Ridge residents, their murmurs spilling onto the street where Jack parked the excavator. Its yellow frame gleamed under the morning sun, draped with signs screaming, "HOA fraud. Stop stealing our homes." My heart pounded as I clutched the USB drive Chloe gave me, its contents. Karen's emails to her brother-in-law, burning a hole in my pocket. Lily stayed with Clara at home, her worried question echoing in my mind. "Will the mean lady win, Mom?" I'd promised her no, but as I stepped inside, seeing Karen at the podium in her polished blazer, confidence radiating, doubt crept in. She was pitching the Heritage Program, her voice smooth, promising community pride and historic preservation. The crowd clapped, but I caught uneasy glances from a few neighbors. Laura met me near the entrance, her briefcase stuffed with evidence. "Ready?" she whispered. I nodded, though my hands shook. Jack stood by, his grin fierce. "Let's rattle her cage," he said. We waited for the Q&A, my eyes scanning the room. Emily and Daniel sat near the front, their faces tense. I felt a pang. They deserved better than Karen's lies. Then a man in a suit, Karen's brother-in-law, Mark Dawson, stood to praise the program. "The heritage sites bring revenue and jobs," he said, smiling. My stomach twisted. Those revenues were stolen, and his company was pocketing them. I couldn't wait any longer. I stood, raising my hand. Karen's smile faltered as she called on me. "Sarah Bennett, 231 Maple Drive," I said, voice steady despite my racing pulse. "The HOA's using my property as a wedding venue without my permission. They forged my dad's signature to do it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen laughed, sharp and forced. "That's absurd. The Bennett property is part of our program, legally signed over by Robert Bennett." I held up the forged document, its shaky scrawl a lie. "My dad was dying when this was signed. He'd never give up his home. And I'm not the only one. 3 other families had their signatures faked, too." I nodded to Laura, who passed out copies of the evidence to the crowd. Karen's face reddened, but she doubled down. "This is a misunderstanding. The signatures were verified." A woman in the back, Mrs. Patel, stood, her voice trembling. "My uncle's name is on one of those contracts, too. He was in a nursing home, barely conscious." "You lied." The room erupted in murmurs. Mark tried to calm things, but I wasn't done. I held up the USB drive. "I have emails showing Karen funneled heritage funds to her brother-in-law's company. It's fraud." Karen's eyes widened, and for the first time, she looked rattled. "That's slander," she snapped, but the crowd was turning, their whispers growing hostile. Then came the twist. Emily stood, tears streaming down her face. "I trusted you, Karen. You took our money, lied about Sarah's house, and now our wedding's falling apart." Daniel grabbed her hand, glaring at Karen. The crowd's anger surged, and I saw my chance. "There's an excavator outside," I said. "I planned a fake demolition to stop this wedding and expose the HOA. But I don't want to hurt Emily and Daniel. I'm offering my garden for their wedding, free, if Karen admits the truth and cancels the heritage scam." The room went silent. Emily gasped, looking at me with shock and hope. Karen's mouth opened, but no words came out. Mark jumped in, his voice loud. "This is nonsense. The program's legal, and Sarah's breaking laws with that machine." But Jack stepped forward, his voice booming. "Check the permits, Mark. I filed them myself. All legal. Unlike your sister-in-law's deals." The crowd laughed, some clapping. Karen's composure cracked, her hands shaking as she gripped the podium. Then another twist hit. Chloe, the ex-receptionist, slipped into the room, holding a stack of papers. "I work for Karen," she said, voice shaking but clear. "She told me to shred these, more fake contracts. I kept them." She handed them to Laura, who skimmed them and nodded. "These match the forgeries," Laura said. "Karen, you're done." The mayor, Karen's sister's husband, stood, his face pale. "This needs to be investigated," he said, distancing himself. Karen glared at him, betrayed. "You knew," she hissed, loud enough for the front row to hear. The crowd roared, demanding answers. I felt a rush of victory, but it was bittersweet. Emily approached me, her eyes soft. "You'd really let us use your garden?" I nodded. "It's what Dad would have wanted, helping people, not hurting them." She hugged me, and I felt Lily's hope in that moment. But Karen wasn't finished. As the crowd swarmed her with questions, she slipped out a side door. I caught Jack's eye. "She's running," he said. My heart raced. This wasn't over. I had to follow her to end this for good. I pushed through the crowd, my heart racing as I followed Karen's trail out the town hall's side door. The cool evening air hit me, but my focus was on her red blazer disappearing around the corner. Jack was right behind me, his boots heavy on the pavement. "She's heading to her car," he whispered. "She's scared, Sarah. You've got her." But I wasn't so sure. Karen Walsh didn't strike me as someone who'd give up easily, not with her connections and that smug confidence. I clutched the USB drive in my pocket, Chloe's emails, my ace in the hole. If Karen was running, she was hiding something bigger. I had to know what. We caught up to her in the parking lot, where she was fumbling with her keys at a sleek, black SUV. "Karen," I shouted. She spun around, her face pale, but her eyes sharp with defiance. "You think you've won," she hissed. "This town belongs to me. You're nothing but a nuisance." Her words stung, but I stepped closer. "You forged signatures, stole money, and lied to Emily and Daniel. The whole town knows now. Give it up." She laughed, cold and bitter. "You have no proof. That USB? It's nothing. My lawyers will bury you." My stomach dropped. Was she bluffing? Before I could respond, Jack stepped in, his voice low. "Then explain the shredder, Karen. Chloe kept more than emails." Her eyes flickered with panic, just for a second. That's when the first twist hit. A police car pulled into the lot, lights flashing but silent. Officer Mike Larson, a friend of Dad's, stepped out. I'd called him after Chloe's confession, hoping he'd back me. "Karen Walsh," he said, his tone calm but firm. "We need to talk about some documents." Karen's face froze, but she recovered fast. "Mike, this is a misunderstanding. Sarah's causing trouble over nothing." Mike raised an eyebrow, glancing at me. "Got a call about fraud, Karen. Forged signatures, misdirected funds. Serious stuff." He held up a folder, Chloe's papers, handed over by Laura. Karen's hands shook as she unlocked her car. "I'm not talking without my lawyer," she snapped, climbing in. But the second twist came fast. As Karen started the engine, Emily and Daniel appeared, breathless, from the town hall. Emily's eyes were red, but her voice was steady. "Karen, you lied to us. We trusted you, and you used Sarah's home like it was yours." Daniel held up his phone, showing a video. "I recorded the meeting. Everything, Sarah's evidence, Chloe's papers, your outburst. It's going viral." My jaw dropped. The crowd inside had been filming, and now Karen's lies were spreading online. Her face went white as she gripped the steering wheel. "You'll regret this," she muttered, peeling out of the lot. Mike nodded to me. "I'll follow her. Stay safe, Sarah." Back at home, I sat with Lily, trying to calm my nerves. She was curled up on the couch, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Did you win, Mom?" she asked, her voice small. I hugged her, forcing a smile. "We're getting there, sweetie." But my mind was on Karen's threat. She wasn't done, and I needed to protect our home. Laura called, her voice excited. "Sarah, the video's everywhere. Neighbors are coming forward with their own HOA complaints. Karen's losing her grip." I felt a spark of hope, but then Laura dropped another twist. I checked the USB. "Those emails? They mention a developer meeting tomorrow at your property. Karen's planning to push through a sale, wedding or no wedding." My heart sank. A sale? My home? I grabbed Dad's old letter from the kitchen drawer, rereading his words. "Outsmart them, Sarah." I called Jack, who was already at my gate with Clara and a few neighbors. "We heard about the developer," Clara said, her eyes fierce. "They're not touching your land." Jack nodded. "I've got a buddy at the local paper. He wants to cover this. Let's make tomorrow a circus." My plan grew bolder. The fake demolition wasn't enough. I'd turn my property into a stage. I called the landscaping crew, adding floodlights and banners, accusing the HOA of theft. Emily texted me, offering to help. "We owe you," she wrote. "Let us stand with you." I agreed, moved by her support. The next morning, I woke to a new shock. A letter from the HOA slipped under my door, claimed my stunt violated community standards, and threatened a $10,000 fine. Attached was a notice of a lien on my property, signed by Karen and dated yesterday. My hands shook as I called Laura. "Can they do this?" I asked. She sighed. "They're trying to scare you. The lien's shaky with all this evidence, but we need to act fast." I looked out at the garden, where Lily was playing, oblivious to the fight. Dad's roses swayed in the breeze, and I felt his strength in me. Karen thought she could bully me into submission, but she'd underestimated me. Tomorrow, when the developers arrived, they'd face a crowd, cameras, and the truth. I wasn't just saving my home, I was exposing a scam that could save others, too. The morning of the developer meeting, my backyard looked like a protest camp. Neighbors lined the fence, holding signs that read "Stop HOA Fraud" and "Save Bennett Gardens." Jack's crew had set up floodlights and draped banners across the excavator, one boldly stating, "Karen Walsh stole our homes." Emily and Daniel stood with me, their faces determined, while Clara rallied the crowd, her voice sharp despite her age. A local news van parked nearby, the reporter, Lee Sing-win, setting up a camera. I'd called her last night, sharing Chloe's emails and Laura's evidence. My heart raced as I glanced at Lily, playing safely inside with a neighbor. Dad's words echoed, "Outsmart them, Sarah." Today I would. The developers arrived in a shiny black sedan, two men in suits stepping out, confused by the crowd. Karen trailed behind, her face a mask of fury. She marched toward me, heels clicking. "Sarah, this is illegal. Remove these people and that machine." I crossed my arms, standing by the excavator. "You forged my dad's signature and tried to sell my land. The only illegal thing here is you." The crowd cheered, and Lisa's camera zoomed in. Karen's eyes darted to the news van, her voice dropping. "You'll lose everything," she hissed. "My sister's husband runs this town." But her threat felt hollow as the neighbor shouted, "Liar and thief." Then came the first twist. Mike Larson, the police officer, pulled up with another car behind him. Out stepped a man I recognized, Tom Bennett, my dad's cousin and a retired judge in Oak Ridge. I hadn't seen him in years, but Laura had called him last night, knowing his clout could help. "Karen Walsh," Tom said, his voice booming, "you're under investigation for fraud and forgery. I've seen the evidence." "Step back." Karen's jaw dropped, and the developers exchanged nervous glances. The crowd roared, but I saw Karen whisper to one of the suits, who nodded and slipped away. My gut twisted. She was plotting something. I stepped forward, holding up the USB drive. "These emails prove Karen funneled heritage funds to her brother-in-law's company," I said, loud enough for Lisa's camera. "She faked signatures to steal properties, including mine." Emily spoke up, her voice shaking but clear. "She took our wedding money, lied about this venue, and left us stranded." Daniel squeezed her hand, adding, "We trusted her, and she used us." The crowd's anger grew, and Lisa's microphone caught every word. Karen's face paled, but she forced a smile. "This is a setup," she said. "Sarah's unstable, grieving her father. She's lying." The accusation stung, but Tom stepped in. "The documents don't lie, Karen. And neither does Chloe's testimony." That's when the second twist hit. Chloe appeared, escorted by Mike, holding a laptop. "I work for Karen," she said, her voice trembling as she faced the crowd. "She told me to fake emails to make it look like Sarah agreed to the wedding. I saved the originals." She opened the laptop, showing a screen with emails from Karen instructing her to handle my property. The crowd gasped, and Lisa's camera panned to Karen, who looked trapped. "Those are fabricated," Karen shouted, but her voice cracked. The developers backed away, one muttering, "We're out." They sped off, leaving Karen alone. I saw my chance. "Karen, admit it," I said. "Cancel the heritage program, refund Emily and Daniel, and stop the lien on my house. Or this goes to court." The crowd chanted, "Admit it." Karen's eyes darted, but then she smirked, a new twist throwing me off. "You think you've won? Check your mailbox, Sarah." My heart sank as Jack ran to my porch, pulling out a new letter. It was a court order signed by a judge, halting my demolition and freezing my property pending an HOA review. The judge's name? Mark Dawson, Karen's brother-in-law. The crowd went quiet, and Karen's smirk grew. "You can't fight us," she said. Emily grabbed my arm, tears in her eyes. "Sarah, what now? Our wedding's tomorrow." I felt the weight of her hope, Lily's fear, and Dad's legacy. I looked at Tom, who nodded. "That order's on shaky ground," he said. Mark's conflicted out. "I'll file to overturn it today." Clara stepped up, her voice fierce. "We're not leaving, Sarah. This is our town, too." The neighbors cheered, and I felt a surge of strength. Karen might have one last card, but I had a community. I turned to Lisa. "Keep filming," I said. "Let's show the world what Karen's done." As the crowd rallied, I knew the fight wasn't over. Karen's court order was a desperate move, but I had a plan to finish this, for Lily, for Dad, for everyone she'd hurt. The crowd's cheers faded as Karen's court order sank in, its words a cold grip on my hope. I stood in my garden, Lisa's camera still rolling, neighbors murmuring nervously. Karen's smirk lingered as she slipped away, leaving me with a sinking feeling. Lily ran out, hugging my leg. "Mom, are we losing our house?" Her voice broke me, but I knelt, forcing a smile. "No, sweetie. We're fighting." Inside, I was scared. Mark's order could tie up my property for months. Laura grabbed my arm. "Sarah, Tom's filing to dismiss this today. Mark's conflict of interest is obvious." But time was tight. Emily's wedding was tomorrow. Then came the first twist. Lisa, the reporter, rushed over, her phone buzzing. "Sarah, the video from the town hall hit 10,000 views. People are sharing stories about Karen scams online." My eyes widened. The town was turning against her. Clara chimed in. "My nephew posted it on X. It's trending locally." I felt a spark of hope, but then Emily pulled me aside, her face pale. "Sarah, Karen just called. She said, if you don't drop this, she'll sue you for defamation." I laughed bitterly. She's the liar, not me. But Emily's eyes were desperate. "She's offering to refund us if we back her story. We're broke, Sarah." I don't know what to do. The second twist hit like a punch. Jack waved me over, holding a crumpled paper he'd found in my mailbox. It was a new HOA notice, claiming my property was condemned due to unsafe conditions from the fake demolition. It demanded I vacate by next week. My heart raced. Karen was playing dirty, using her connections to push me out. I called Tom, who was furious. "This is nonsense," he said. "Mark's overstepping. I'm calling in a favor with the state attorney's office." But as I hung up, I saw a car pull up. It was Mike, the officer, his face grim. "Sarah, we found something in Karen's office. She's been forging deeds, not just signatures. Your dad's wasn't the only one." I clutched Lily's hand, my mind spinning. Karen's scam was deeper than I'd thought, but her latest move was a desperate attack. I looked at Emily, who was crying softly. "I'll fix this," I promised. "Your wedding's happening, and Karen's done." I rallied the neighbors, and we moved the excavator to my front yard, adding a banner. "Karen Walsh stole our homes." Lisa kept filming, her voice steady. "This is Oak Ridge's fight now," she said. I nodded, feeling Dad's strength. Karen's empire was crumbling, but she'd fight dirty to the end. Tomorrow, I'd face her one last time, with the whole town watching. The morning of Emily's wedding, my garden was alive with neighbors, their signs waving as Lisa's news crew filmed. The excavator stood proud, its banner accusing Karen of fraud. I'd barely slept, haunted by her condemned notice, but Tom's call at dawn gave me hope. "Mark's order is suspended," he said. "The state attorney's reviewing the HOA's records." I hugged Lily, who was helping Clara string flowers for Emily. "We're winning, Mom," she said, her smile bright. But my gut warned me, Karen wasn't done. The first twist came fast. Mike arrived, holding a warrant. "We raided Karen's office," he said. "Found a ledger. She's been skimming heritage funds for years, funneling them to offshore accounts." My jaw dropped. Karen wasn't just a bully. She was a criminal mastermind. Before I could process it, Karen's SUV screeched up. She stepped out, no blazer, her face haggard. "Sarah, call this off," she begged. "I'll cancel the lien, refund everyone, just stop." I stared, stunned by her desperation. "Admit it publicly," I said. "On camera." She hesitated, then nodded, tears in her eyes. The second twist hit as Lisa's camera rolled. Karen faced the crowd, voice shaking. "I forged documents and misused funds. The heritage program's a scam." Gasps rippled through the neighbors. Emily, in her wedding dress, stared, betrayed. But then Karen dropped a bombshell. I didn't act alone. The mayor knew. The crowd erupted, and Lisa's eyes lit up. This was bigger than Oak Ridge. Mike cuffed Karen, reading her rights as she glared at me. "You've ruined me," she whispered. I shook my head. "You did that yourself." I turned to Emily, guilt heavy. "Your wedding's here, free, today." She hugged me, sobbing. "Thank you, Sarah." The neighbors helped set up chairs, and by noon, the garden was a venue. Dad's roses blooming around Emily and Daniel's vows. Lily danced with Clara, and I felt Dad's pride. Later, Tom told me the mayor resigned, and the HOA board dissolved. The moral hit me. Fighting for what's right builds a community stronger than any bully's power. As Lily and I sat on the porch that night, stars above, I knew Dad's home was safe, not just for us, but for everyone who'd stood with me.